Real estate is some of the most stressful times that a client goes through.
Why the obsession over the customer experience?
It's never gonna be good enough, and I'm always constantly looking for feedback.
I think a lot of people are automating themselves out of the business.
Most people today deal with a robot or they deal with a text message. There's no emotion. There's no ability when you go to a self-checkout.
We're all so good now at sensing the BS.
AI might present facts for me to talk to you about, but by me saying that to you is going to connect at an emotional level.
What's up, everybody? Grant Wise here. Welcome back to the Partner Profit Podcast. Excited for another epic conversation on how you can turn your relationships into revenue. I've got Koby Sway with the Briley Team. Koby, thanks for being on here with me today, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Grant. Anytime. Happy to be on.
Yeah. So for people that maybe don't know much about you, give us a little bit of the backstory. How'd you get to where you are today?
My wife's been a realtor 12 years. Corporate America. I was in corporate America a long time, 20 years. And around COVID, I was talking to the team leader, Adam Briley, and he said, I want to blow my business up. I want to make it huge. And asked me questions about, why don't you just come? And we were joking for years, like, why don't you come manage the team? Why don't you come manage our office? And I always was like, no, I'm not interested. We finally at one point figured out a thing that made sense. And that was about 5.5 years ago, obviously. It's been a whirlwind, that's for sure. When I was on the team, we started with about 10 realtors. We were doing about 300 units a year. And now fast forward today, we have 4 businesses: mortgage, insurance, title, real estate. We have 60 realtors. We do about 1,000 units a year, and it's a completely transformed business from 5.5 years ago.
That is definitely an epic transformation in just 5 years. That's doing some work. What pushed you guys off into the 4 different businesses? Was it just like natural fit or good partnerships or what?
Yeah, it's just like, as a realtor, you hand this lead over to somebody and they take it. I mean, they take it and they give it to another realtor they feels more qualified. So I was very upset that leads were starting to go to other realtors from my team. And I was like, this isn't right. So I thought maybe there's a way that mortgage could make sense where we could maybe keep that lead for us. And then that was the initial thought. But then as we talked more about it, it was like, well, people like a bundled service. People like a shared service. People like the convenience of going to like a one-stop shop. But really it just came out of the habit of like, man, I didn't like my leads was getting stolen at first. And then I started learning more about the business and I was like, we could do a better job. And it was the same with insurance. Insurance rates were going crazy. And then it was title where we just weren't getting the feedback that we were looking for. So it's just a matter of trying to take more control and just providing a better experience overall for our clients. Just because, again, I don't think it's cumbersome to say, okay, you go find this, you go find this, you go find this, you find. And next thing you know, the realtor's not reliant as a knowledgeable expert with all of these things, even though it's hard to know mortgage, insurance, and title, and contractors, and all these things they're supposed to. We try to make it easier for them to, do better with their own clients, to get more referrals.
So do you guys own those ancillaries, or Are they joint ventures?
We have one JV. We have one joint venture, title. The rest are owned out by us.
Amazing. Okay. So real estate is a relationship-based industry, and so are the ancillaries that you've got: mortgage, title, and insurance. And I always get fascinated by these answers from conversation to conversation to conversation, because you guys have taken the relationship really and turned it into like 5 sources of revenue to one transaction. But when I say like, Koby, how do I take my relationships and turn them into revenue? Where does your mind go?
What's interesting is the original thinking was, hey, let's make this a good experience and let's provide. If a mortgage officer is willing to give you $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month, there must be money in this if they're sending you co-marketing, co-spend dollars, So if they partner with you, say with Realtor.com or Google or, name the service, and they're willing to spend half the budget or a quarter or a portion of the budget, there must be money in it. So as I was doing research, I was like, well, there's probably money behind it. But then when you said that, I originally was thinking, you know what you run into a lot of the time, and this is true, this happens every day, is real estate agents will complain more often because they have the ability to go to you. You want to provide the best service possible. So when the agent gives you feedback and they say, hey, this wasn't stellar or wasn't up to par or wasn't as good, you got to remind yourself that they also have other loan officers maybe that aren't calling them in 2 seconds. They also have other loan officers that aren't getting back to them in 1.5 minutes. But there's a level of expectation that goes up when you, quote unquote, have the keys or own it or are managing it. You're going to get a lot of more complaints from your ancillaries because you're more accessible. And they're like, hey, I know that you guys have a JV with this, but here's the problems we're having. It's like, okay, well, I always ask them this. Well, let me ask you this question. Have you had this issue with any other title office? Oh, yeah, I get it all the time. So it's like, is it a title issue? Is it my issue? Is it your issue? Are you unrealistic on the expectations? So just be prepared, Grant, as you run your business, that you're going to get more feedback, positive or negative, and most human beings will give you negative feedback. But at the end of the day, I want my realtors to have the best service humanly possible. I want my clients to have the best service humanly possible. And I want to provide the best, not like, oh, well, you're on our team, you should use these things. I want to provide something better. So I also put that challenge on myself. Like, what feedback do you guys have? Well, this could get better, this could get better, this could get better. So it's kind of like, it's never going to be good enough. And I'm always constantly looking for feedback. That's where my mind originally kind of went when you said that question.
It's really interesting. What you've said this quite a few times just in our conversation, and I imagine I have an idea of where it comes from, but why the obsession over the customer experience to the point that it's like, let's own the whole ecosystem instead of just our part in it? What is it about the customer experience in your mind that is so integral to this whole thing?
No, that's a good question. I appreciate that. I think about, again, back in my days at corporate America, I worked at some massive companies. I mean, huge companies, AT&T, Best Buy, Verizon, some massive behemoths. And I think about like what they did to try to earn the business, because think of like cell phones, there's so many options and people are loyal and some are not. So I think like learning through some customer service jobs and jobs related that I've had that I think deep down rooted in me is trying to provide the absolute best experience where somebody can turn around and say, you have got to call Grant. He is the best at this. Because real estate is some of the most stressful times that a client goes through. And I think that realtors, it's so easy because realtors like, just move in 30 days, just pack your stuff and leave, and then get a realtor to move. Ask them to move, and then they're complaining and screaming and yelling. And again, people are on pins and needles. The problem is most people are so stressed out because they need to get tax forms and they need to meet at certain times and they need to get their HR department on the phone and they need to get insurance lined up. And it's not a fun process because you have to get all of these players to help you move into your house. So most of the time, when you look up real estate agents or buying a house, it's one of the worst things out there. It's such a stressful time. So I think it's A, part of being grounded in that corporate America experience, and then B is I think majority of realtors don't do it right. And 70% of realtors today are part-time. They sell less than 3 houses. So I think it's a shame that most clients out there today are helped by people that have zero clue what they're doing and they're kind of going through the motions. And I just think we can do a better job.
Yeah. How have you what are like, give me like 2 or 3 examples of things that you have noticed when it comes to the customer relation. How has that been enhanced now that you own more of the process? Have you seen more referrals? Have you seen more like fill in the blank? Like what are a few ways that you guys have seen the relationship evolve as a result of that?
Well, we get more reviews because clients are more happy to explain what happened. So you get cross-pollination amongst reviews on multiple companies. People are less likely to have reservations. They're like, absolutely, you did such a great job. I want to shout it from the rooftops. And I have no problem hopping on X platform to give you a review. So reviews have gotten a lot easier to get because they're very satisfied. And then referrals have also, like you said, have just also gotten huge. Like I think of our insurance company, Liz, one of the best insurance agents you're ever going to meet in the country. And I don't just say that because we own it. I say it because she's very thorough and educated. Most people don't know when they sign up for insurance that their deductible is X amount, or your insurance company's not going to cover the roof, or you're going to have these. Everyone looks at rate, and rate doesn't matter because at the end of the day, if you have a house and it's a $280,000 house and you have 70% of it is smoke damage, do you have $30,000 to pay for the deductible? No. Well, but it was only $30 a month. Okay, well, but they didn't explain that, right? So a lot of insurance agents try to just get the lowest rate and then they don't explain the stuff that they jam in there or they don't tell. So my insurance agent, for example, Liz, she gets tons of referrals because she takes the time and spends minutes explaining what the actual policy entails. Yeah, she covers the policy, but that's at the end. And it's the same with our mortgage office. I feel the same way with mortgage. Like everyone's focused on rate. Rate is great. Like, yeah, we have great rates. We have the best rates, whatever. But at the end of the day, customer service is lost. Most people today deal with a robot or they deal with a text message. There's no emotion. There's no ability when you go to a self checkout. We're trying to get away from, human beings and AI and social media. And I think that a lot of the times what circles in my mind is we are looking for human connection. And I'm very connected with why are human beings wanting to connect with other human beings. So I think that we do a great job, which is a kind of full circle, Grant, because more clients are going to refer our brand and business because we provide them the most excellent service with all of our services. Now, things come out, right? Like that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that we don't make mistakes, of course, but I would think that from a positive standpoint, we're going to get a mortgage officer to meet you face to face. We're going to get an insurance agent meet you face to face. We're going to get the title officer. We're going to get the realtor all to come meet you if that's what you want, or to Zoom with you. And you're going to know that there's a human connection there. Yeah, technology is great, but it hasn't replaced the need for a human being.
Without question, I think a lot of people are automating themselves out of the business. It's pretty amazing what's happening. Like I could see the high level of automation in something like AT&T's business.
Yeah,
You want to automate as much as you possibly can.
absolutely.
But when you come to navigating the largest investment decision that people are going to make in their life, most people still want to talk to somebody. Like they
Yeah.
still want to connect with somebody to make that purchase, to finance that purchase, to protect that purchase, like all the way around. You've got to have a lot of human touch. I'm interested. This is just like a general curiosity, stepping back from relationships for a second. In your days at corporate, like how much of that applies to what you've done in real estate? Because you go from working for these massive companies and then you flip over and now you're working for a hyper local business. What are the parallels there? I got to have this conversation. We were both in Nashville a few weeks back at an event, and we ended up at dinner, and I was sitting next to the CEO of Remax, and he was the CEO for Dish Cable for 6 years. And that was a fascinating conversation because I was like, what's similar? Like, what's the same? He was talking about revelations he had when he was working there. And I was like, how is that translated over here to Remax? Like, what are you noticing that is the same? So I'm very interested to know from your perspective, working for some of these big companies and doing what you do now, where are the parallels?
I think of like AT&T, just say, for example, what do you think about when you think about hearing that? Is it the Globe? Is it an ad? Is it something funny? It's March Madness. They spend a ton of money on March Madness. And everybody had a preconceived notion. When someone walked into a store, and I worked at a store, and they would walk in, they'd have a preconceived notion as to what it was going to be like dealing with an AT&T rep to buy a phone or return a phone or get internet, or we sold a lot of stuff back then. We sell everything at the AT&T. And it's the same kind of parallel that they have preconceived notions on how this should go. So when the client clicks a button on X online provider, they go into open houses. They have a certain preconceived notion, a lot of people, that a real estate agent is slimy or going to push me into something or force me to buy a house. Or it becomes very real when somebody is meeting with me and I say, sign this form, Grant, that says you're going to work with me. I mean, you think about like the buyer agency agreement that's required now by law, that you have to sign a document before I can show you houses. And realtors sit behind that cowardly and say, well, that's the law. If you don't sign it, Grant, you must not be serious enough, which really, it's a whole nother topic, but it's gotten to be where you're lazy. A real estate agent should never put a form in front of somebody and say, do that. So, but anyway, the first parallel is they have preconceived notions. And then the second one comes down to the customer experience today is still as real. And I can tell you that a lot of those larger companies that I worked at, they automated everything. They put their call centers overseas.
Yeah.
They made everything online for tech and robots. And when people drive to the store, the first thing out of their mouth most of the time was, I can't stand your customer service online. I can't get somebody on the phone. I don't want to talk to a robot.
I was a former AT&T customer. That's the number one thing that comes to mind. It was the worst customer service. Online, it was the worst. But if you go in store, it was a little bit better. But online, it was like, made me want to hurt people. It was really rough.
Exactly. So it's just they were, again, wanting that. And it's the same thing on a real estate, is when you share your information, most real estate companies sell it like 150 times or something ridiculous. There's 200 million leads generated a year and 5 million sales. I mean, I'm giving round numbers here, but there's so much inundated with calls and calls and calls and calls and calls. So that's the other thing that's just the parallel to, again, from being at a corporate store or a large office, was people had these preconceived notions and they weren't feeling comfortable and they weren't excited about technology. And they said, I just want a human being. I always tell people a real estate transaction to me is like getting married. That is the easiest analogy I like to tell my realtors is you're not going to get married over a text. You're not going to propose to somebody via a Zoom. That doesn't mean people don't ever do that. But my point is you go on a date first, face to face. You go on a second date, a third date, you have food, you share, you cry, you start to develop a lasting relationship. And that's what realtors are today. And that's another parallel I learned is AT&T and Verizon wanted to make clients for life. They wanted you to pay your cell phone and not think about it because that thing never stopped. And that's the same parallel today with realtors is you get to know their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, their friends, their family. And we want the right real estate agents want to help them, not take their money. They want to help them. And that's another huge parallel is we're here to be their lifelong person. And that's one thing that's so cool in real estate is you get to help somebody through the journeys of kids, divorce, death, unfortunately, job relocation, job promotion, and it's like you get to help them on this cool journey. And agents get a little testy sometimes when they're like, well, they didn't call me back. It's like, well, they just lost their mother or they just had their first baby at a hospital. I'm sure they didn't return your call after 2 weeks. But again, like I get it. We're in sales. We want instant gratification, right? Like I want a sale today. And that's one thing that's different completely is at AT&T, I could have a conversation with you, Grant. I could get you an iPhone tomorrow, or I could get your business set up with internet. I could get that done in a week or two. Most people take 1 to 2 years to buy a house. So you're making a way longer relationship and deposits into that account.
Where do you think that this is going? Like with the rise of AI and everything, where do you think that the real estate industry is growing? Where do you think that, are we still going to be a relationship-based industry? Like where do you think all of this is going over the next 5 or 10 years?
I think there is, without a shadow of a doubt, there's scientific research that says you live longer if you have human interactions and we enjoy the behaviors that we put ourselves in or the environment we're in. I think that should tell you that we want to meet people at a house. We want to touch it. Because again, with technology today, Grant, you know this, the photos and the imaging and the 3D and like you already know what the house is. So why do people still drive there? Because they want to touch it. They want to touch the carpet. And it's like, well, don't worry about that. Well, what about the furniture? And it's like, guys, all this is going to change. You're going to take all your stuff out, but people are visual, right? People want to see what their furniture is like in there. They want to go there with tape measures and they want to see if the refrigerator fits. So AI will make real estate agents better. It will make them more efficient. But where realtors will run into issues, like you said earlier, is realtors will automate themselves out of actually being a human being. So like, I'm going to make an AI video today of me dancing and skipping and jumping and all these cool things. And then they meet me, they're going to be like, well, he's kind of a boring, lonely guy. He doesn't have that much energy. So like, you got to make sure your persona or who you present yourself on social media, just like you did in the last, 15, 20 years, it's the same with AI. What's my persona going to be? So you have to make sure that with AI, it's going to make you sure. Maybe you could meet a few more people. Maybe you could engage with it. But the right realtors, what they'll do, Grant, is they will get to know human beings and they will call and say, Grant, tell me about your sister. How was the graduation last weekend? Tell me about your brother. Tell me about your dad. I know he was at the hospital with hospice lately. That AI might present facts for me to talk to you about, but by me saying that to you is going to connect at an emotional level. And then another thing is when it comes to voice and dialects, I think people like to hear the pitch, just like a text message. It's very hard. If I send a message that doesn't sound great, I put a smiley face behind it so they know that I'm not mad or upset. But when I'm explaining it like this, you're like, oh, he's not mad. You're really going to see a parallel where people, just like social, you're going to see a lot of people that are like, I'm AI it out. What's real and what's fake? I'm going to start to have genuine conversations, genuine lunches, genuine let's say open houses, whatever it is. So it's going to continue to push people back to the human element, and it's going to continue to be something amazing. But what I'm excited about is, again, AI is going to help us in a lot of ways be more efficient and more successful. So I can call Grant and say, how's your dad doing at a hospice? And not forget, hopefully AI will remind me and make me more of a human being. Not that I don't care, but I get a little bit busy.
Yeah. Such really good points. I think the benefit of this AI evolution, I think people are going to be able to sense, like they're going to become better at understanding what it means to be human, I guess. And I think they're going to also be better at understanding just like the genuine nature of people and the authenticity and those types of things. I think we're all so good now at sensing the BS. Like just like what has happened over like the last 5 years, just the last 5 or 6 years. I think it is unbelievable how aware the average person has become. I would be apt to agree with you. Like we use AI in so many ways, but we use it technically. We use it to automate the things that make us become more efficient so that we can spend more time with people. And like exactly what you're talking about. I think if people have that mindset and they take a lot of what you're talking about today, obsessing over the customer experience to make sure that you're serving your clients at the highest level, like those relationships, you say it's going to lead to more reviews, or it's already led to more reviews, but it's going to lead to more referrals as well. That's exactly how you turn your relationships into revenue. Just caring about people, a genuine theme across the last several episodes that I've done. But man, I really appreciate you spending some time with me today and answering these questions. I always like to ask this at the end is like, what's the number one way that we as listeners of the podcast can partner with you? How can we support you all in your growth today?
People connect with me on Facebook. They can connect with me on Instagram. I'm obviously, in real estate, you can connect with me anywhere. I think the biggest thing is you can call me. My cell phone number's out there. You can text me. I started 5.5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, and I didn't know anything, nothing. And, I used to call some of the best realtors in the country. And a little trick that I would say is I'm only going to take 1.5 minutes. I'm going to take 3.5 seconds. Something strange because most people are like, I don't have 30 minutes. But it's very hard, Grant, if I'm like, hey, can I just borrow you for like 2.5 minutes? You'll take my call. So if anybody wants, they can reach out at any time. And I have no problem giving you 1.5 to 2 minutes of my time because somebody helped me along the way too.
Yeah. I love it, man. We'll make sure that we connect or we link up the ways people can connect with you. And if you're listening to this, I encourage you to do that. I've certainly watched what the Briley team's done over the last several years. It's definitely amazing. And that stems from great leadership, as you certainly got to experience over the last 20-ish minutes. So Koby, man, thanks again. I appreciate you for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you all for continuing to listen to the Partner and Profit podcast. This has been another amazing conversation. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.